Thank you. We were knocking on the door of $50 million in revenue when I had a heart-stopping realization. We'd outgrown our leadership team, our entire leadership team, including me. We'd had challenges before, but this one, it had taken a certain management style to operate from $1 million to $10 million in revenue. We wore a lot of different hats. Then, at about 15 million, we had the critical mass to bring on talented people to lead functions who put wind in our sails. I loved them, and it worked. We continued to charge up the hill of high growth until almost 50 million and hit a wall. First, it was a leadership wall. Then, about a year later, we slammed up against the revenue wall, and growth went totally flat. There's a connection. Leadership is a leading indicator of growth. We first recognized our leadership gap when we were working together at an offsite on long-term strategy and vision. We knew that what got us to this place wasn't going to get us to the next one. We understood we had to revamp decision-making, develop the next level of talent, operate differently. We all agreed. I knew that I personally would have to lead differently, but I wasn't sure how, especially since I felt like the glue holding the pieces together. I scanned the leadership team, including the 5 people who reported to me, thinking about their capabilities and their passions, and I realized there was just one person I was sure would make it. And she was the first person to tell me she wasn't going to make it. Instead, she shared her difficult decision to resign her role rather than clear that hurdle and spend time with her newly adopted baby daughter. I understood, but it was really hard to breathe. We were vulnerable and heartbroken at the possibility of turning over our entire top team. What a shock to realize how suddenly a business can outgrow our people. Is this part of the growing pain in order to make it? And what does making it really mean if it requires leaving people behind? But let me back up a second. Outgrowing people wouldn't be easy in any company, but at Torani it would be like outgrowing a family member. We start with family. We were founded by a wife and husband team, Isilda and Ronaldo Torri, 94 years ago. They went to Italy to visit family and brought recipes back to San Francisco to the Italian neighborhood in North Beach. And throughout the years, Torani was run by family until I came along. When I met Harry and Lisa, second and third generation family members, I was struck by their warmth and their deep care for people. And what attracted me even more is that the company was based in the most economically disadvantaged in San Francisco, the Bayview Hunters Point. I thought, wow, we get to hire people from the neighborhood and build stepping stones of opportunity. And Harry and Lisa were in. When I started, there were fewer than 10 of us, and we focused the business around our invention of the flavored latte and took off like crazy, growing the category, growing our customers and our organization until we hit this wall. The family was adamant that we figure out how to bring our team with us. Our purpose is flavor for all, opportunity for all. And it means that not only are our products inclusive and approachable, but so is our success. We believe everything starts with people, and that companies can and should provide more opportunities for people to develop, to grow, to make it. That meant that we wanted to provide the opportunity for those team members to clear that hurdle with us. So how? And would they want to? Well, I'm here today, so you know we made it at least until now. But it was painful. Over the next 18 months, most of those leadership team members decided they didn't want to clear those hurdles with us. It was a very rough transition. We never wanted to go through that again. I know I didn't want to. So we had to build leadership and development practices that could help us flex and scale. Ones that would not only really give our culture a boost, but also hold it tight. We've developed 3 practices since then that I like to share with you today that continue to make a really big difference for us. They are learning journeys, contribution management, and career mixology. Practice 1, don't do, learn. Let's go back to that oh shit leadership moment. I knew that I couldn't action Jackson my way through it. Taking on more would have broken me, and it wouldn't have built the capabilities of the company. So instead, I set out on a personal learning journey. I didn't call it that at the time. I just knew I wanted to learn as much as possible about what it would take to lead a company twice the size. You know, you want to talk to people who've been there, done that. So I continued my work and squeezed in some learning on the side. I picked up the phone and called our banker and said, hey, you know the CEO at Cliff Bar. Could you make an introduction? So I went on a field trip and met with Cheryl O'Loughlin, who was CEO at the time. Later went back to meet with Kevin Cleary. I learned a lot from them about where they'd come and where they were headed. Made me hungry for more field trips. I also looked for conferences like this one. Talked with thought leaders, read everything I could get my hands on leadership transitions, joined a peer group of mid-market companies. The essence of what I learned is that our team development would have to start with my own. And that would be true from there on out. No matter what our fancy education or experience, we have to continually push ourselves to be ready to lead a company twice the size or in a new context. So that learning journey planted a seed. It was a methodology that could be used by anyone. So a few years later, when we met our next big growth challenge, we applied the same principles to an executive team learning journey. When our business model had run its course, and we realized that we were going to go flat again, we went on an innovation learning journey. So I have to say, going out to learn is not a first instinct. The first instinct is more like to act, to do something, to make a difference in some quick, fast way. In fact, some of our team members said, we've got this covered, it's product innovation. It's always product innovation. But what we really needed was innovation at a deeper level in our business model and in the development of our team. So we charted a year-long course of self-guided learning. Yep, a year long. The idea was that we would go on field trips, read books together, have guest speakers, and upload our learnings into Fresh Strategy at the end of the year. And that's exactly what we did. So instead of being transactional and tactical, we were transformative. Our learning helped us reframe our entire business, and we moved from a cafe-centric model, which is still important to us, to consumer-centric, which built the whole thing. And we took off on another path of growth. So individual and team learning journeys are part of the development fabric of Torani. We do them all over the place in the company. Often it'll be a 3 to 6 month learning journey where we're doing our regular work and we squeeze in some self-guided learning along the side. We'll do it for customer experience project or a big technology project. So we found that it's a great way for us to learn, it improves our output, and it's a fantastic way to develop ourselves and our people to be ready for the future. Practice 2. We are always on the lookout for great coaching models. Anything that truly helps performance, which of course means anything but a performance management system or traditional performance reviews. Red circle, line through those. We all know they can be demoralizing and even a colossal waste of time. We finally found something that feels really right. When our VP of People and Culture, Katrina, joined our team, she shared a framework around contribution, and we were completely smitten. So here's the gist of it. Fundamentally, contribution is about expanding someone's potential in the present and in the future, whereas performance is about the manager judging looking backwards. That may sound like a subtle tweak on performance, but there are a couple of game changers. So pictured here is Sue, our head of quality assurance, and Sophie, QA team member who reports to Sue. The first fundamental difference is that this is a conversation. Sue is not telling Sophie how she did. Sophie's leading the conversation. And she owns her own contribution. Sue then becomes the sounding board and the coach. The second game changer is that we fully integrate a person's development interests, whether those interests are part of their current role or beyond it. The manager's role then is to help the individual, Sophie in this case, explore those interests and look for opportunities to exercise them in the company. So I have to tell you, we're 6 years in, and it took us 3 years to get the hang of this, even though we were fertile soil for this. I think it's because it's such a mind shift, especially for managers. There is a whole lot more inquiry than telling, and that's a big change. Let me give you a couple of examples of how it works and what it can open up. Stacy is our head of international business. She likes a lot of things. And in her contribution conversation, she brought up that she was really interested in making a contribution in the startup of our new 330,000 square foot flavor factory. That would never have come up in a performance review. So that opened up a possibility that works great for Stacy and for us. Today, she's leading the way on solar energy for the build-out of the new flavor factory while she's still running the international business. That was a fantastic thing to have happened. Here's another example. Jeff is a maintenance mechanic. He could be pretty rough on people. You might say disrupting rather than contributing to a productive work environment. He was coached to expand his contribution by taking communications classes. He needed that toolkit. Then, practicing his skills on the production floor, he fell in love with mentoring. And it turned out he was great at it. You know, that would never have come up in the other context, and he had to make the choice on his own. He's not a supervisor, but he really expanded his contribution in that meaningful way. This is a framework that's deeply respectful of people. It keeps them challenged and interested. And what's really surprised us about it is that it actually makes what can be a painful process in some companies a really joyful one for us. Practice 3, let's talk about career mixology. Contribution can go down 2 pathways. One is to build or riff off your current role. The other is to mix it up a little. Look for different kinds of roles and contributions. We call that career mixology. One easy way to think about it is to encourage people to apply for different kinds of jobs internally. We have a lot of that, like Lamar, who started out driving forklift in distribution, then moved into quality assurance, and now leads our sanitation team. There's another way to go even deeper. Remember the person I was telling you about who decided to resign her role when we were going through that growth hurdle? That was Cindy. She was our VP of marketing. She's here in blue. When Cindy shared that, I really was heartbroken. I love her. And then Cindy shared that she'd be looking for part-time work. I said, well, I hope you're going to look for that here. She said, we could do that? Well, of course, and we did. Each year, we'd talk about what Cindy could do. We scoped her contribution and her time commitment. She did stints in marketing, in sales, and supply chain. And then a few years into it, our VP of R&D retired, and Cindy stepped into the interim role. She had the perspective of the whole organization, and she was terrific. Today, Cindy is our VP of R&D. She was ready at that time to expand her contribution and her time commitment, and we were able to retain somebody who might have left another company. We have somebody who holds deep knowledge, who's strategic, and is an embodiment of our culture, and I am so happy, and I love her so much, I'm happy I get to work with her every single day. Now, there's another story that many of us face, and that's when we actually do outgrow a leader or leaders we love, like at the beginning of the story. The next time we went through that, we handled it much better with career mixology. Let me tell you about Eric. Eric stepped up from a director position in retail sales to lead sales overall. And at first, he was very successful. He helped us double our sales. And then it got hard, especially around strategy. I remember Eric saying, when we're working on strategy, I feel like I'm on a tricycle when you guys are on 10 speeds. So we talked about it and where his true passions lay. Did he want to push hard to develop the strategic agility to build an organization twice the size? Or did he want to make a different contribution, maybe where his true heart lay, in retail? Eric chose retail. Today, he's the VP of our retail sales division, and he's doubling the size there, and really happy about it. We had to trust each other to have that conversation. And we had to have a context of a company that celebrates, doesn't shame, but truly celebrates when somebody pursues their true heart's desire. So career mixology weaves together company development and people development. We think it's one of the secret sauces of mid-market entrepreneurship. So where are we today? Well, we've made it. This is our leadership team, at least up until now. Not hoisting people through those growth hurdles paternalistically, but providing an array of development options that help them flex and scale. Since that heart-stopping moment, we've quadrupled in size. And we are really excited about the way we're developing people with practices like learning journeys, contribution management, and career mixology. So now, as we climb up and summit the current growth hurdle, high fives all around, we look up, we see the challenges of the Alps ahead. Suit up. There's a lot more to learn. Here we go again. Thank you.